Hello everyone and welcome back to the Sporting Fan Podcast. I'm your host Stephen and today I will be speaking about a controversial topic in sport, but as it has come up during the Winter Olympics, I believe I should speak about it. This is of course drugs and doping within professional sport. The athlete that has been caught up at the Winter Olympics is 15-year-old Russian skater Kamila Valieva, who has tested positive to Zazdan, which is used for health conditions including certain heart issues and dizziness. This is the same drug that Sun Yang tested positive to, the Chinese swimmer who publicly feuded with Australian swimmer Matt Corden and Great Britain swimmer Duncan Scott refused to shake hands with at the 2019 World Championships after the final, where Duncan Scott won bronze and Sun Yang won gold. The Kamila positive case has raised many questions from her team, the Russian sporting program, and the testing program, and the Court of Arbitration in Sport, the body overseeing positive drug tests. The question regarding the team is, how did she get it? Because she's only 15. It's not like she's going out and getting this stuff herself. Someone's obviously had to get it for her. So who was it and gave it to her? The next question is, who taught her it's okay to take it? Because again, with her age, if she's given something and she is told that it's okay, she's a lot less likely to question it than someone that's a lot older, like 20 or 30, that's been around for a long time. They won't ask the same kind of questions she won't ask the same kind of questions. She won't ask, like, what is it, what's in it, is this okay if I take it, will I come up in any drug test, will I test positive and get banned? She won't ask those kind of questions that someone that might be in the 20s or 30s that have been around professional sport for 5, 10, 15 years. And obviously that has been tested multiple times. The next question is obviously, was her team working alone? Were they working independently? Or were they working with the Russian government? This question has obviously come up because of the state's sponsored doping of many Russian athletes. And if you've been watching this Olympics and or the Tokyo Olympics last year, you would realize that the Russian athletes, because of the state-sponsored doping, had to compete under the banner of the Russian Olympic Committee, not Russia, or the Russian flag, like basically every other nation who compete under their own nation's name. For example, if you're competing for Australia, you compete for the Australian flag, not the Australian Olympic Committee, as much as you're part of the Australian Olympic Committee. This has also brought up questions regarding testing as well. She apparently was tested on Christmas Day last year after a competition on Christmas Eve. However, the results weren't tested until relatively recently, and the positive test didn't come back until the Olympics had already started. The people testing said the reason it took so long was because they had a lot of people testing positive to COVID, meaning that they couldn't test the sample in a timely manner like they supposedly usually do. This has complicated things because she has already won gold in one of the team events. So people are asking, does it get stripped? If it does, when? How does it work? There's a lot of questions regarding about that. The next question was her upcoming singles event, which is tonight. A lot of people are saying she shouldn't be allowed to compete because of the positive test. The Court of Arbitration said that she is allowed to compete, but no medals are going to be given out until it is resolved, which I believe is really unfair on both her and the other athletes involved, because if she does win a medal, which she's highly expected to do, she's actually expected to take out gold. The other two athletes have their medals sent to them in the post instead of standing on a podium, which may be their only opportunity to do. The reason for this is that the Court of Arbitration said that she's allowed to compete, but there's going to be no medals ceremony. So I think it's really unfair on the other two athletes that win whatever medal they win, whether it be gold and bronze, gold, silver, bronze, whatever it may be. It's really unfair on the other two. And it's also unfair on the person that finished fourth, because provided she does win a medal, it's unfair on them because they don't know, they've got a long way to know, well, am I a medalist, am I not? It also, they're waiting around. It's also unfair on them because they could have other sponsorship opportunities where, for example, a lot of athletes in their sponsorships, if they win a tournament or, in this case, win a medal, they get bonuses. And if she finishes fourth, and by the time she might miss out on a bonus because they said, well, you didn't actually win it because, you finished fourth, as much as the person that won this other medal was, whether it be gold, silver, or bronze, wins is doping. They might miss out on some sponsorship money. So it's also unfair financially, and it's also unfair that they can't have that opportunity to stand up on the podium. Personally, I don't think Valieva should be allowed to compete, but that's just my personal opinion. I think she should be suspended from this tournament and then be sorted out later. So it also puts a question mark over the whole Court of Arbitration, because it also goes how a lot of people are asking, well, how independent are they actually? Or is it just whoever pays them the most that they can sweep it under the carpet? So there's also those kind of questions. When I was actually doing some research for this topic, I find it quite interesting because doping comes in many forms. It's not always intentional. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's not. And some people just, make a mistake. With the intentional doping, it's much harder to catch because, there are so many new drugs coming out. So everyone thinks, anabolic steroids. There's always different types of performance enhancers that don't get pulled up. There's a lot of different drugs and that there's a lot of different types of steroids and that, so it's not just one, and they don't always get and even the banned substances, there's ways to get around it. And so a lot of athletes can actually bulk up legally because they have these new drugs which will end up being banned in 12 months or 2 years or 5 years, whenever. So as much as it's probably unethical, they gain an advantage because they have something that's very similar to something else that's banned, but that I think so. It's there's always that. It's always who you got the best doctors, right? And the other thing with the testing is that why I say it's getting harder and harder with the intentional testing is sometimes you can eat something or take something just prior to the test. If this is provided, you get a heads up, and they take this thing and it takes something that it gets it out of the system or reduces the trace amount in their system. So what happens is that you're allowed to have a certain amount of these proteins and what have you in your system. But if you can take, and quite often they're over, but they take something to get them under. It's similar to what people do when they're taking drug tests when they're driving or drink driving. That if they see your RBT or MDT, what that we call it here in New South Wales, they eat, or they I've actually heard someone explain it to me with I don't take drugs, but I've heard it from people that do. There's like a spray or something that you can put in your mouth that it does something to the test. So basically you come back negative. I'm not exactly sure how it works because, like I said, I don't do drugs, but I have had people explain it to me and briefly explain it to me, and that's how it works. So you can get around. That's how you can get around the test. And apparently, according to the economists, at the Tokyo Olympics last year, between 10 and 40% of athletes could have been taking something illegal either before or during the Tokyo Olympics. And some other publications have said it's as high as 50 to 60% that were taking something illegal. And while others have also put it where it's, like I said, it's legal, but it's really morally dubious. It's very questionable, the substance that they've been taking. So there's always a question mark, or there's been a lot of question marks. And I know for a fact that not many athletes last year at the Tokyo Games got done for drug tests, for drug doping. It was nowhere near between 10 to 40%. So it certainly wasn't up over 50%. So it's interesting to see how many actually were positive, and so there's a kind of wait and see. And unless the person comes forward and said, "Yeah, I was doping," it's very unlikely, unless they've been caught. It's very unlikely they will ever get caught. It's only, I think, between 1% and 2% of athletes get caught. So they're only getting, between 10%, or a couple of percent to 10% of people that are doping. So there's very low numbers that actually get caught. So the chances of you actually getting caught is very low, considering a lot of athletes only get tested maybe once or twice a year. So if you know that you're only going to get tested once, and you say get tested in March, well, you're unlikely to get tested again until November or December. So you can bulk up, and by the time they test you, a lot of it's already out of your system, but the effects have already taken place. So it's a very interesting way of looking at it. But again, there's more to it than just saying, some people say, there's so many taking it, why not just simply, make it open season? I don't think this is right, because it also has a lot of detrimental effect to athletes' health. It can create a lot of heart issues, as well as a lot of breathing and respiratory problems. So it creates a lot of problems down the track for athletes. So it's not as simple as saying, it should be just open season. Everyone should be allowed to take it, no consequences, because then a lot of the athletes think, of here and now. Let's get the best performance now. I don't think that in 10 years' time, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years after they retire, when they're 40 or 50 or 60 years old, that they might have serious health issues from the drug testing. But there's also the other side of the coin, where, you might be just unlucky. There are a lot of athletes that they eat protein bars and that kind of thing, but the protein bars are usually 99.9% of them are clean. But you might just get one where it has something in it, and you might be the unlucky person that eats it and then has something in it that you can't have, and then you test positive, and then you get labeled a drug cheat. Like, for example, like a lot of athletes, like tennis stars, swimmers, and swimmers, in the athletics, they're all around the world. They're competing all around the world. It's not like you're in one city week in, week out. And even in the other sports, like, for example, a lot of the American sports, they're traveling half the year. They're away. They could be away for several weeks. Same in the soccer. If they're in one of the top teams, they're traveling all around Europe. Or even if you're in a local comp where, like, for example, in the AFL, they're going, the Perth team, they've got teams in Perth, Adelaide, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Gold Coast. So you sometimes you're eating at places that you're often eating at places where you don't often eat. And if you just go out and say, I just want a, burger, they might have something in the sauce, or the particular meat that they sauce has something in it that you're not supposed to eat. You don't usually eat that. You just go, I'd just like to go out and eat it this one time, eat it, and then and then you come back saying, and then you have a test and it comes back positive. And a lot of people say, you're just trying to get out of getting a positive test. Well, that's not always the case. I believe, for example, a classic example of that is the swimmer Shayna Jack, the Australian swimmer. She won a gold medal in the Commonwealth Games in the 2018 Com Games, and in the 4x100 freestyle relay, and she had always complied with the testing. She'd always, I believe that you have to tell ASADA that, or whoever the nation's doping body is, where you're going to be day in, day out. You had to allocate 1 hour a day, I believe, saying I'm going to be at a certain location. And she hit, and if you don't tell them where you are, you can get a violation. If you get enough violations, you end up getting suspended. And she always said ahead of time where she's going to be, what time she's going to be there, all kind of things. And she'd always been right on time. She'd always updated it if something had come up and she needed to change it. She was always on the money. And then she tested positive. I'm not exactly sure what drug she tested positive to, but she tested positive to drugs. And there were even ASADA members who had dealt with it numerous times said that they didn't believe that she intentionally was doping. They think she... a lot of her fellow athletes believe that she just got a bad bunch of supplements and she just was unlucky that she tested. mixed with something that it wasn't supposed to, and at the factory where it was made, and she tested positive. But the SADA members believe that she actually ate something, and that was how she went over. So they don't believe that she intentionally tested positive, took doping, and she was intentionally doping. So she originally was suspended for 4 years, but then they believed her story that she wasn't intentionally doping, so they reduced it down to 2 years. So that means she's now allowed to compete again. That 2 years is now up, and she will be able to compete. She was allowed to try out for the, I believe she's allowed to try out for the Com Games this year, and she's allowed to obviously compete at Paris and any other championships now, provided she qualifies. But the other thing that I would like to talk about is some of the stuff that's actually banned. Like, for some of them are absolutely ridiculous. There's stuff that are banned. Like, for example, some common everyday cold and flu tablets, and a lot of common pain medications are banned that you can easily buy at a chemist. Like, for example, I can go in there today and just pick them up off the shelf and buy them, or can easily just get a prescription from a doctor and say, and the chemist just goes, "Yep, sweet," and gives it to you. These athletes are not allowed to take them, and they can get banned for 2 and 3 and 4 years taking something that's really, like, clearly not intentionally doping. Like, for example, I think they need to really have a common sense approach. Like, if someone's taking a Panadol because they've just got a little muscle ache, they're not trying to dope, obviously. Or if they're taking a cold and flu tablet, they're not trying to dope. They're not trying to. That's, in my opinion, that's not doping. That's just trying to say, look, I'm feeling a bit sick or feeling a little bit sore today. I just want to, like, feel a little bit better. That's a lot different to someone that's taking steroids or taking blood thinners so they can increase their endurance, or they're taking all these other things where that are banned, that obviously does give dramatically improved performance, all these other drugs. You can't put, like, someone taking a Panadol isn't the same league as that. Those are completely different. And the fact that you can get suspended for the same length of time, I think a lot of people will say that's absolutely ridiculous. And I'm certainly one of those people that think it is. Like, you can't rip someone's dream away because they're feeling sick. I think they need to have a completely rethink. They need to look at it and say, okay, how can we improve this? They might say, give them a caution or give them something else, but just because I don't think really in Panadol, I don't know what's what's all the ingredients in Panadol, but I highly doubt that's, like, where you can get a performance enhancing from that, or performance enhance, like, yeah, they need to look at it and just think, okay, these things are now legal, these things are now not legal, and they just, think it through and be smarter about it. But, that's a lot shorter podcast today. I just wanted to talk about that today because it is very topical. It is something that we've all seen. We've all seen athletes test positive. I'd like to hear what you think about what has happened with the Russian skater that did test positive, as well as any other athlete, if you want to discuss Shayna Jack, the other person I mentioned in the podcast today, if you think that if you want to say no, she's guilty, she deserved everything plus more, she deserved the original 4-year ban, she didn't deserve to have it reduced. If you want to argue that point and give your reasons why, I would like to hear that, because just because those are my opinions doesn't necessarily mean I'm right, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to share the same opinion as me. You may think that that she maybe didn't deserve a 4-year, but she maybe deserved a 2.5 or 3 years ban. Some might say that she didn't deserve to be banned at all. So just other people believe that if you test positive, whether it be intentional or unintentional, they should be put in the same category as people that do match fixing or spot fixing, which I personally, it depends how bad the doping is. If the doping is absolutely ridiculous, where they're just pumping them, they're got more steroids and all the other drugs pumping through their veins and blood, then yeah, I would probably agree with them. But if it's just, someone taking something accidentally, I don't necessarily believe in life bans for drugs. And yeah, so I would like to hear what you all believe. If you want to put a message in the comments section, go to my Facebook page and the Sporting Fan Podcast, either Facebook or Instagram page, and shoot me a message and say, in the comments, and say, yeah, we agree with you, we don't agree with you, I half agree with you on certain points. I'd like to hear about it. So thank you for listening, and until next time, have a good one.